Great.
There are some softballs here, and there are some tough questions.
I'm ready.
Good. First question. In a single word, describe your first year as mayor.
Eventful. It's probably my first word that comes to mind.
We're going to look back, also look ahead. In 30 seconds or less, your top 3 goals for this next year.
Yeah, top one is we want to make sure that we keep Denver affordable for every working family. We know right now Denver's becoming too expensive too fast, and so we want to focus on affordable housing for working families. That's why we're talking about a ballot measure for this November. Second one is we want to really drive the revival of downtown. Downtown is everyone's living room, and we want to make sure that we get the 16th Street Mall reopened. We get our Downtown Denver Authority up and running so we can activate and elevate the experience of downtown.
On the issue of financial stability, after having to spend an unprecedented amount on housing and homelessness, unexpected expenses, how would you assess Denver's financial stability right now?
Yeah, I think Denver is in strong financial shape. We have been thoughtful and taken care of the resources we have. We knew this was an unusual year where we had a lot of federal surplus dollars that were available for us to use just this year. So a lot of the investments we made in homelessness this year were in infrastructure. They were in setting up the 8 different sites we have around the city. You know, we brought on 1,200 units we now have to move people off the streets and into housing. And those will be there for us to use long term. So those were one-time costs to use one-time federal dollars. That's the way we wanted to use them. But long term, we're prepared to have an operations budget that we can manage and support to deliver outcomes. I think we got to keep an eye on macroeconomics. We know there's some softening in the sales tax returns regionally, and so we want to keep an eye on what the revenues are going to be. But structurally, we're sound. We know what we need to spend, and we know what it costs. We just have to now figure out what the revenues are that will be generated. And we think that's a key sign that we want to work on that too. The reason why we care about economic recovery is the way you drive stronger revenues to a city is you have more people opening businesses and running businesses successfully. And so we want to be the city where that's easy to do that.
Denver voters have historically approved sales tax increases.
Yes.
By all indications, you're asking for 2 in November. It's going to bring sales tax in Denver up to almost 10%. Could you be asking for too much?
Our focus is on solving the single biggest problem in Denver, which is can people still afford to live in Denver? And we know if you do nothing, the city will continue to become more and more unaffordable. Right now we have one of the fastest increasing housing markets of any in the country. If we do nothing, we will end up like San Francisco where you got to be able to afford a $2 million home to live in the city. We don't want that. And so to stop that, we got to be able to build the number of units we need that are affordable. To solve that gap, we need to build out 45,000 units. This ballot measure would put us on a path to actually do that. And it's important that is an impact of about $2 a week on a Denver family. It's important to know that groceries, this does not apply to groceries, does not apply to gas, does not apply to medicine or medical supplies. So we think to be able to take a teacher who's not going to be able to stay in the city and drop their rent by $800 or $1,000 a month in order for me to pay $2 more a week on retail sales taxes, we think that's a good trade for the city.
Are you concerned about the potential impact a nearly 10% sales tax could have on big purchases, cars and other large ticket items, maybe people going across the border to make those purchases? Have you considered that?
We've always considered it. We look carefully at it. I think we're open to looking at all of the existing sales taxes that have been added over the decades and see if those are all things we still need to keep in place. But the benefit is we look at our tax burden compared to the rest of the state and our tax burden across all sources. When you talk about your experience of tax in the city, it's not just sales tax, it's what you pay on income, what you pay on sales, what you pay on property. We are still among the lowest overall tax burdens of major cities in the country, even with this addition. And so we don't think it significantly changes people's behavior. We've seen that from evidence in the past when there have been sales tax increases. So we think this can both help spur business and help protect Denverites, because what we know is a business that might be worried about the sales tax is more worried about whether or not their employee will still keep coming to work tomorrow if they can't afford the rent.
2 items on the sales tax, right? Housing and Denver Health. Yes. Are you concerned one could pass and the other couldn't? And if Denver Health doesn't, what could that mean for the hospital's future?
You know, we have strong support for both of these measures. We have been in close partnership with Denver Health around their work. We know that they have uncompensated care they need to support. We think they're making that case powerfully to the public. And that helps us long term. Obviously, they need support from the city. We want to provide it. We can't provide the scale of support they'll need to fix the gap that they have. And so we think this is a place where Denverites are going to say the two most important things to us are affordable housing and quality health care, and we think those are the two questions on the ballot. This will be the first time in Denver history voters have gotten to weigh in on the question of affordable housing, and they tell us over and over and over again that's the single most important thing for them.
Denver Health. Recent reports show in 2022, Denver Health provided $260 million in uncompensated care. Nationwide, there's a growing number of hospitals in default. How concerned are you that Denver Health may be headed down that road?
Oh, I'm certainly concerned about the financial stability of Denver Health, and they are too. That's why they're working on it together. There are a number of things we can do. One is, we want, Denver Health is the only real safety net hospital on the Front Range. So that means you have people that come from other counties, other cities that all come to Denver. We need those cities and regions in the state to help pay their fair share of those costs. We want more and more folks like me to get their health care at Denver Health, because the more paying customers we have who use their insurance and come to Denver Health, that helps support the bottom line also. And we want to be able to have the right public support to keep it as a place where you can go in a moment of emergency. I mean, there's a woman who runs a fancy financial services firm downtown who fainted in the middle of work and fell down and cracked her head open on the concrete floor. And were it not for the Denver Health ambulance that got there in time, got her to the emergency room in time, and got her care in time, she would have left 2 kids as orphans that day. You never know when you're going to need Denver Health, but the moments that you do is the moment that it's the most important, and we want to make sure they're there.
Let's go to the future of downtown. Sources tell us there are 6 major buildings in downtown currently in default. Vacancy rates continue to soar. What are you planning to do in your next year to revitalize what appears to be a struggling downtown?
Yeah, we're going to launch the most ambitious effort in Denver history to revive downtown. Our plan for the Downtown Denver Authority would expand about $500 million we could invest in downtown without increasing taxes. It would draw money from the local Union Station Improvement District. Those residences right around Union Station will have a chance to vote on that this November. And that allows us to do things like take vacant commercial buildings and convert them into apartments. Apartments that can be affordable for the servers and the janitors that are working downtown, as well as new arrivals. We also want to be able to focus on attracting and keeping really vibrant businesses in downtown. We're going to work hard to reopen the 16th Street Mall. You can see the map of it behind you, which is what I focus on every day, making sure we have the right retailers and the right blocks to create a really unique experience you can only find in Denver. We're focusing on activations, whether it is mariachi bands and art installations and open beer halls to be able to invite people to come back to downtown. So what I think they're going to find is this is a totally different downtown than they saw a year or 2 ago.
Talked to several city workers.
Yes.
And they have dealt with the budget cuts.
Yes.
They've said the fat is gone, it's down to the bone.
Yes.
They said they're tired of hearing do more with less. What do you say to those that flat out say morale is not as good as it should be?
It's been a hard year, and so I don't doubt that. We've all been through some real stress, and particularly we know when you look at how we solved welcoming 30,000 migrants to this city without a budget or knowledge of that coming, it was because city workers went above and beyond to take whatever job they were supposed to be doing and added this whole new job where they needed to help intake people or connect them to housing or connect them to services or connect them to legal supports. And so we had to stand up legal clinics in the Webb atrium. I mean, it was sometimes you can't plan for or know that a crisis is coming. It arrives and you have to respond to it. So they've done a heroic job. I'm quick to thank and recognize the city employees who've put the city on their back over the last year. And I agree with them. We don't want budget cuts to be a permanent function of the city, but we have to make sure when a crisis arrives on your doorsteps, you can solve it. And so we've done that. We were very proud of the fact that we really changed course on our migrant services. We closed our hotel system, which was much more expensive, moved people into apartments. We shortened the length of stays, and that saved us about $90 million of what would have been budget cuts. And so I think most of the times that I talked to departments, they were very excited that the cuts we thought we might have had to make, we didn't have to make because of the change in this program, because we've reduced the number of folks that need services. And so that's been a real success for us, but it has for sure been a taxing year.